Morning. It's Between the Horns. Between the Horns. I'm Aaron Horn. Hello. What's between the horns? I want to give a shout out. I stop when I go on these adventures, when I take off and leave and go for a drive. If I'm heading south out of Council, a lot of times in the mornings I'll stop and I'll get me a coffee. They're at the coffee cabin in Midvale. It's for sale, by the way. If you're looking for a restaurant, make you a lot of money if you knew what you were doing. If you were a restaurateur. I don't know why I'm giving them a plug, other than I like the folks. A lot of times in the mornings when I take off and leave, it's probably once every month that I go through there and stop, probably about once every month. I stop by and get a coffee, and I'll stop in there, and they're always encouraging. A lot of them know I go out and take pictures, make videos, and do these long drives, and so they encourage me, and it's fun. They always give the boys these treats. I always cut them in half and give them each a half, and then down the road 100 miles or so we'll finish it off. So they get pretty excited. They love going to the coffee cabin. They're on a one-on-one name basis with some of the folks in there. So anyway, that's what started Between the Horns. Between the Horns, Aaron Horn. I'll tell you, I've been a little bit on the quiet side lately within myself, trying to get words out, trying to find ways to express some of my feelings. And seeing how this is my journal, my video journal, I wanted to take pause today and recognize that the world, what's going on around me, seems to be chaotic, seems to be out of control, seems to be spinning at a pace I can't recognize. Well, let me tell you, I've been wondering how to handle that and how to express that. I don't know how everybody's doing it. I don't know how other people are dealing with it. I'm not in any way, shape, or form scared. Am I fearful? Yeah, there's some fear. Not scared. There's some things going on in our world I don't agree with. Things in this world I do agree with. It's not so much what I agree or disagree with, it's the pace or the spin of it all. For starters, I try to live a pretty slow-paced life. I appreciate a slow-paced life. I know, that's pretty odd these days. I live in an area that's slower paced. It's up 2 hours out of the busy valley, and it's quieter up there. Things go at a slower pace. It's a slower lifestyle. My home, when I'm at home, it's a slow pace. It's very rare that we get too big a hurry, unless it's absolutely necessary. But for the most part, the norm is that it's a pretty slow life I live, and I appreciate that, and I work hard to guard that and to be aware of that, and it's just a place of gratitude where it's like I'm grateful that I can learn to slow life down at this age of my life. I'm 51 this year, so but it is different. I come down, like today I'm coming through part of the valley. I'm cutting through Idaho into Oregon and out, and then I'll come back around into Idaho. And some busier areas, busy for me. And so it's hard. It's kind of a hard thing. And so I don't know if anybody else is feeling that pinch. I don't know if anybody else is feeling the angst of the speed of life. But I just want to say I'm here. I feel that. I recognize that. I don't ever want to, and even if it's a place of being uncomfortable, I don't ever want to go back to the fast spin. I call it the rat race, or the mouse wheel, that gerbil wheel that they. I don't ever want to go back to that. So this isn't me trying to learn how to live a faster paced life. This is me recognizing that there are places and times in our lives where we live at a slower pace, and maybe we feel like life's running us over the top. Again, I'm very comfortable here now. It's taken me years to get here. I don't feel overwhelmed by it, but I do feel very uncomfortable. I do have some tricks, like turning off the news, not perpetuating the speed, the will, spinning faster, and greed's part of that, and learning about greed and about contentment, the opposite. I don't feel forced to run faster now to keep up. So some of those things, that's some of the things I use, getting away from learning to not have to be materialistic, and learning that, again, the opposite, contentment. I work hard to push myself in times of commitment. I was just having I call it a board meeting with myself in the grocery store today over something that I caught myself. Well, technically it's confidential because we were in the boardroom, but that being said, I have to at times recognize that I'm not always content. That's a daily, lifetime journey of contentment, and so I don't know that a person can say I'm ever fully content, but that's a lot about, maybe that's a whole other video about contentment. But this one is just noticing the speed and the pace, and maybe some other people out there feel alone or isolated because they can't keep up, or they don't want to keep up. Well, I hope we can make a connection, that you can hear what I'm saying. Down the road, Aaron, when I watch this again someday, I'll learn something here about contentment, about slowing down, and not feeling forced to run at the pace of the rat wheel, the gerbil wheel of life, the rat race. Blessings. Love you guys. I'm going to get on with my journey today. Hope you guys have a good part of your journey. Be blessed. Be kind. Rewind. Love you guys. Until next time. Between the Horns, Aaron Horn. Well, I signed off on the last videos, Between the Horns, Aaron Horn, until we meet again. Well, here we are, bringing you along for this part of the journey. I came out of council today. I'm heading down south, Weiser, and then Ontario. I got on the freeway there and came to Baker City, and then I headed back to the east, southeast, down by this is the Powder River we're going by here. You kind of see it there off to the right, kind of fading off. And then going from Baker to Richland, Oregon, and then, not to be confused with Richland, Washington, for some of y'all, and then from there to Richland, to Halfway, Oregon. Then I'll come out, down across the Snake River at Brownlee Reservoir, south of Hell's Canyon. Man, it's pretty down in here. got a special little beauty to these little river canyons here in Oregon. I don't know what it is. Idaho has some beautiful ones too. But anyway, I'm just out here relaxing, enjoying myself. That's more cars than I've seen probably the last hour. This road's pretty, it's Highway 86 out of Baker City. Anyway, I'll end up back by way of Cambridge, Idaho. I'll end up back in Council this evening. It's about 2:30. Let's see, it'll be 3:30 my time. I'll probably get home about 7-ish, 6-ish, 7-ish. I'm not in a big hurry. Boys haven't had a lot of time out to run today. They do have bones that they're chewing on. I got them today, and they just think they're in heaven. So that's what they've been doing for the last 70 some miles. Anyway, it's quite the view out here. Never been on this drive before. It's been on my long-term bucket list to make the loop through Baker and back around to Council, but I've never have. And then it's been on my short-term bucket list, goal list, so to speak, this summer. I wanted to make that happen. So anyway, here I am, and it is something else. So for now, between the horns, Aaron Horn. Till next time. Love you guys. Until we meet again, still on the same trip, down the road a ways. This is between the horns still. Still between the horns. There's Bliss. We're heading up here. Actually, that's Cuddy Mountain off to the right. I misquoted earlier and called them the Eagle Cap Mountains back there. They're back here to our northwest. Those are actually the cornucopias, I learned. Cornucopia Mountains. Quite a history. So yeah, we're out here now between Halfway and Oxbow or Brownlee Reservoir. That's where we'll go up, we'll cross over, and then we'll head up, come out in Cambridge. So Aaron Horn, just continuing this trip. This is what, 3 videos now? Thinking more about this whole fast pace of life, and I just sat down there in town in a watering hole and had a conversation with some folks. I like to ask questions when I pull into a town. I pull in, go into a grocery store or one of the local watering holes, and I'll ask questions. Just so happened that today, Wild Bill's Cafe and Saloon there in Halfway, ended up talking to a gentleman. His name's Dick. He's 90 years old. Well, he says he's a few days away from 90, but he's 90 here in a few days, and he's only spent 2 years away from the Pine Valley. That's Pine Valley where Halfway's at. Anyway, we had a nice talk. He told me a little bit about the community. He was born in, what did we decide, 1935. Yeah, that was something to behold. He went off in the Army for a couple years, right in between Korea and Vietnam, and came home and worked for the Forest Service for 35 years. Says he knows every square inch of this area, the Forest Service area around here, and I told him I wished I had more time to spend with him, but he was an interesting fellow. We had a nice conversation. Hi, Bibbers. We got to talking about the fast pace of life, and he got kind of frustrated. He got a little wound up. There's a 39-year difference between Dick and I. And Dick still has a lot of the frustrations of the past with change and with things happening the way they are. He's hoping this is a good hard winter so it'll drive some of the city folks out, some of the lowlanders out. I was interested in that. He mentioned that a couple times. If we have a couple more really hard winters, he said, that'll run some of these crazies out of here back to the lowlands. And it was very interesting because as kind-hearted and great conversation we had, he still is very opinionated about the lowlanders and the people who come in and bring all their crazy ideas. That's his words, quote, crazy ideas from the flatland, and they expect them to work up in the high country. And I just sit and listen to him. There was a bit of frustration in there, call it even some anger. I don't know his situation, but it was interesting to listen to him. He's got a lot of insight, seen a lot of change. He started laughing when I said, you've probably seen a lot of change down here in this valley. And he said, well, it is halfway after all. But we agreed there had been a lot of change in 90 years. So great conversation. I really enjoyed it. That's why I come out and do what I do, just to stop and have these conversations with people. And as I'm driving along, I've still got at least a couple hours on my tray here, my journey. This has just been really a special trip, and it's given me a lot of pause to slow down and just kind of enjoy the scenery, break out of the pace of life. I started today, first video, talking about spinning, like how we're on a hamster wheel, the rat race of life, and how I appreciate the slower pace. I got to enjoy that for a little while today. You don't get much slower than halfway Oregon, so I'm blessed to be out here. I'm grateful. I'm heading home. The boys are tired. I'm tired. We're gonna take a day of rest tomorrow, maybe catch up on some laundry. Still got a lot of miles, and I'm grateful to still have quite a bit of beautiful scenery out in front of me and opportunities to just drop it down to 45, 50 and just kind of relax. What do you got, Bibbers? Blitz wants to take a break, so we're gonna find a place to pull over between the horns, Aaron Horn. It's a blessing. Slow down, smell the roses when you can. Love you guys. Till we meet again, between the horns, Aaron Horn.